According to Valdor's view, Shion was at a disadvantage. In fact, it was a wonder that the game was even played, which was why Valdor's turn was absolutely necessary. The reason why they are evenly matched is because of the support of Luminous. Also, she is able to cover up her overwhelmingly inferior physical abilities by making full use of her powers. Valdor praised him frankly. Shion can heal herself with infinite regeneration even when she is damaged. Besides, Luminous heals her with restoration magic, so she doesn't care if the wound is fatal, even if it's a limb loss. The situation sounds convincing in words, but it was not possible under normal circumstances. There is no one around who would not care if her limbs were blown off. It was proof of Shion's extraordinary mental strength, and the reason why Valdor was so impressed. Thus, the various factors combined to form a match that was evenly matched in terms of overall strength. Through the past offensives, Dagruel also realized this. Even with his overwhelming destructive power, he could not inflict decisive damage on Shion. And because of this, there is no end in sight to the battle. With a bitter expression, Dagruel glared at Shion. "My goodness, you've really got me fired up, Shion." Dagruel praises Shion calmly, and then his expression changes completely. At that moment, Dagruel's presence changes. The immense power that spread destruction in ancient times is now unleashed. Tidal wave. It is a tidal wave generated on land. A tidal wave of violence that violently shakes in all directions, up and down, left and right. It is so violent that even molecular bonds are dissolved, and it lays waste to all beings. A supernatural power worthy of the name Continent's Wrath rained down on Shion from all directions. Shion's body is tossed about by the violence from which there is no escape. Unlike the suspended world where there is only one law, the real world is affected by a wide variety of physical laws. There are numerous phenomena to be observed, and controlling the law of cause and effect is a pipe dream. Since perfect control of laws is difficult to achieve, perfect foresight is impossible. Since Shion could not decipher all of Dagruel, who was overwhelmingly superior to her, there was a limit to the extent to which she could respond to Dagruel by making full use of her authority. As Valdor pointed out, Shion's chance to win was only in the suspended world. Shion was about to give up in the midst of the intense pain that seemed to be searing into her body. She hit the ground, but the earth was shaking violently. Shion could not even stand up, and she was thrown into the air again. The atmosphere swirls and thunders as if it were roaring. It is a scene of despair. Luminous has no time to help. Valdor could, but he did not have the character to move without Shion's help. So there was no help, and it seemed that the despair would continue until Shion lost consciousness. But then, there was a sudden sensation of something breaking off deep within Shion's mind. It was something rooted in her soul. Rimuru-sama. Shion was stunned. There was a pain that pierced through her whole body, but she had no time to even feel it anymore. Just now, Rimuru is gone from this world. It is true despair. It made her realize that what she had felt just a moment ago was just naivety. Oh no. Shion's mind is filled with emptiness. All her emotions were swallowed up by despair. For Shion, Rimuru was everything, the meaning of life. Without Rimuru, everything would fade away. Woo. Shion howled. Rage welled up in Shion's empty heart. Shion's survival instincts were activated in this phase. The rage, which had covered the despair, activated Shion's body as well. There was a voice in response. Confirmed. Individual. Shion's seal is lifted. With this, the restricted skill begins to evolve. Successfully. Unique skill Cook has evolved into ultimate skill Susanoo. This was the moment when Shion awakened to her ultimate power. If Rimuru had been alive and well, she would never have been able to acquire this power. While fighting against Dagruel, Shion was rapidly transforming her essence. With honesty and straightforwardness, she accepted things as they were without being bound by common sense, and grasped her power. Not only her body but also her spirit. The foundation for Shion's evolution had been formed. And now, Rimuru has disappeared. This was the moment. Shion had the potential to kill Rimuru. Seal, who had been wary of Shion's potential, disappeared with Rimuru, and a watchful eye on Shion was lifted. With this, Shion's authority was fully realized. However, the evolution of authority was meaningless to Shion. Without Rimuru, all power is useless. No. Absolutely not. Shion sees the light in hell. Rimuru's plan is sound. It must not be. Then even this situation was part of a plan. Shion was a fool. She did not doubt in fear. She did not doubt Rimuru's victory, even though she had no evidence to support it. That's Rimuru-sama. You saw this coming. It was an overestimation based on Shion's assumption, but for Shion, it was the truth. Joy and envy filled Shion's heart, and she felt an unbelievable outpouring of power. Pure violence. The power of destruction. A force of tyranny, without regard to good or evil. It is the most powerful power that could kill Rimuru. If Seal had been here, Seal would have grumbled, that's why I had sealed it. but Shion does not notice it. Thank you, Rimuru-sama. And she takes the power she has won with glee for her own. Shan, who has always been aware of Dagruel, has been considerably influenced to optimize her body. The same is true for her evolved power, the ultimate skill Susanoo, which is the incarnation of tyranny. Dagruel, the incarnation of tyranny. In a sense, it was inevitable that the ultimate skill Susanoo took control of the tyranny. Therefore, the violence of the tidal wave, which was raging in the sky, could be controlled without any difficulty by Shion. Absorbing all the energy that had been raging on the battlefield, Shion stood up with aplomb. She stared at Dagruel with an unyielding will and declared, "This time, it is my turn to crush you." The endless thirst for victory drives Shion. The battle between those who possess penetrating violence is about to come to an end. Vildor, who had foreseen Shion's defeat and was about to step forward with clenched fists, takes a sad and courageous step forward and scratches his cheek in embarrassment. "What are you doing?" Lumina's look of disgust hurt Vildor. Vildor coughed to cover his mistake and laughed loudly. "Krahaha. It seems that Shion is doing as well as I expected." "Oh. Coughing once again, Vildor looks at the others besides Shion. On the battlefield, local battles were still ongoing, and local tensions were high. The entry of the top ranks of both sides into the battle has caused a disturbance in the chain of command. The effects of this are obvious. The Titans have become agitated, and it has become difficult for them to mount and organize resistance. Since they are individually strong, they are probably not good at coordinated military actions. The Luminas, on the other hand, are well prepared. Each of them knows their own role, and they have trained for every possible situation. Thanks to them, the battle line was tilted in favor of Luminas. Apart from that, there were swirling eddies of various sizes in various places. The warriors were avoiding the area due to the fierce fighting. At the center of the small whirlpools were Glassard and Albert. A serene, yet furious battle. A sword fight continues in their own private world, where stillness and movement intersect violently. In a larger vortex, there were multiple figures. Luz Valentine, the champion of blood-sucking demons, and Basara, the four-armed leader of the 5 warrior generals, are engaged in a fierce battle, one of the best in the preliminary stage. Joining them is Gunther Strauss, steward of Luminas. He was so impressed by the Lord's determination to defend the land to death, that he himself stopped thinking about the future, and took the battlefield. It was not an order from Luminas, but it was exactly what Gunther wanted. "I'll help you, Louis." "Well, it's been a few hundred years since we fought together. I hope you haven't lost your strength, Gunther." They talked lightly, and the rest was a natural pairing. Around them, the famous and powerful men were fighting in a group battle. The 7 nobles under Louis and the 5 warrior generals, the core of the Titan army, were clashing with each other. The Titans were strong enough to overcome their numerical disadvantage. The battle was going back and forth, and both sides seemed to be saving up their hidden gems. Even at this stage, it was difficult to predict the outcome of the battle. In the largest vortex, the most intense battle was taking place. Adalmann, who had become a young man by assimilation by possession with Wenti, was challenging Fen, the 3-star general, with all his might. Ultima cooperates with Adalmann. Ultima was the one who took Fen by surprise, as soon as the suspended world was released. In terms of numbers alone, Fen is so transcendent that even if the 2 of them were to fight together, the battle would be inconceivable. However, the synergistic effect of Ultima and Adalmann with their accumulated experience and superior level of skill, made it an evenly matched battle. In all areas, the battle was competitive. Vildor sees this and decides that he does not need to intervene. "They're all reliable, aren't they?" Vildor muttered. Luminas interrupted Vildor. "What, you're still here?" Vildor was startled by her cold words, but he still smiled broadly. Kwahahaha. He is trying to cover it up with a smile as if he is losing the game. Vildor, however, is not at peace with his situation. He was upset when he realized that the connection with Rimuru had been severed. However, Vildor still believed in Rimuru. Although the connection was broken, he still felt a faint presence. "I am sure that something happened, but there is no need for me to panic. Yes, it would be more dangerous to abandon the work at this moment." Vildor sensed this and decided to watch over the situation, ready to intervene at any time. Luminas glared at Vildor and spat at him. "You're in my way. If you don't want to fight, just stay out of the way." Vildor was frightened for a moment. Ugh, why must I be treated like a villain?" Since Luminas was scared, it was natural for her to get a little teary-eyed. However, it is her own fault because of what she said. Vildor does not realize this, so there is no reflection on his part. "Luminas, don't be so cold. I am doing my best. I saved your lives just now." Vildor boasts of his achievement with a smug look on her face that she probably didn't notice. He said this to appease Luminas, but Luminas' cold attitude did not change. On the contrary, he felt that she had stepped on a landmine. "Really? I was saved." Luminous cold gold and silver heterochromia eyes looked at Valdor. Aha. Valdor broke out in a cold sweat, but he seemed to regain his composure and puffed out his chest. It was a bluff, but it also had the opposite effect. You evil lizard. She spat at him and turned her face away from him. Valdor was saddened, saying that this was more painful than being yelled at. Valdor was sad, but that is none of Shion's business. The battle with Dagruel had reached its climax, and the time for the end was near. Dagruel and Shion clash. Shion's attack hit Dagruel directly, but did not even give Dagruel an itch. Shion, however, was undaunted and repeated her attack. Dagruel, not to be outdone, counterattacks. Shion's Hercules Deluxe caught a fist that was heavier than a massive iron hammer. Before the next barrage of blows could be unleashed, Shion continued to fire her fighting spirit with her large sword. Dagruel floated in the air. It was an unusual sight. He is more than one size larger than Shion, and there is a huge gap between the two in terms of the amount of magicule. If we think about it in a sensible way, it was an impossible phenomenon. No. Not yet. Shion followed. She put more fighting spirit into Hercules Deluxe, and slammed it into Dagruel. Her deadly sword, whose blade had more than tripled in length, struck Dagruel directly. Dagruel, however, was also a great fighter. Dagruel formed a defensive membrane with his whole body filled with his fighting spirit, and he eliminated Shion's technique. The Hercules Deluxe was caught by Dagruel's crossed arms. Dagruel then returned the favor with a kick. Shion, however, clucked her tongue and retreated from the situation. The residue of Dagruel's fighting spirit hit Shion, but she was strangely unconcerned as if nothing happened. Dagruel wonders, suspicious that the response is different from what he expected, and tries to find out the cause. Shion, by contrast, is unconcerned. She does not even realize that her power has increased, but she just keeps on attacking Dagruel, gamely. Dagruel immediately realized that even he did not understand. In such a situation, it is hard to expect to gather information through conversation. Never mind. Well, we can just smash them as we had originally planned. Dagruel changed his mind and counterattacked with more force. As a result, Shion's power also increased, and the battle became more and more fierce. Needless to say, the reason for Shion's change was her evolved power. The essence of the ultimate skill Susanoo, the king of Tyranny, was the offsetting ability Minasu Break, which can be called the natural enemy of spiritual life forms. When she received energy from Valdor, she unknowingly utilized the power before it was completed. She offset the received energy with her own energy, neutralizing it and converting it into her own. Not only that, it can also take the target's energy and divert it by its own attack, so that it will be able to defeat any enemy in the end. However, the eventually was the key point. Since Shion's energy is limited, it cannot become inexhaustibly strong. If this were the only reason, it would not be as strong as Dagruel, which is far superior to Shion. The reason why Shion was able to approach Dagruel so rapidly was because she was operating her power beyond the limit. Shion has been trying to absorb and own the huge amount of energy that would normally collapse her own body. Even if she was damaged by the surplus, she was exercising her power without worrying about it. This caused Dagruel to accumulate more fatigue than necessary, and his physical strength was reduced even though he was not injured. This is the reason why he is a natural enemy of spiritual life forms. Combined with Shion's immortality, the effect was all the more vicious.